Okay. Colton, what's up, man?
What's up, Joe? How you doing today?
Deja vu here, right?
Yeah, yeah. What's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. I'm ready to pick up part two here. So we're gonna delve in a little further.
All right, let's do it, man.
Okay. So I think we got a good backdrop on who you are. And what I'd like to do is kind of get into the inner tinkerings and motivations of who you are. So let's begin here with, who's been kind of a role model or hero for you? Who's driven you in your life? Because you've gone through recovery, you've gone through all of these things that you've overcome. Who's been the inspiration?
I guess it's just like many people, right? It kept adding on the journey. Like the first guy was another pharmacist who had healed himself. He showed me the breath work. I used that to completely get rid of anxiety and dependency on medications. And it's a huge X factor in healing in general. But then it's like the first coach I ever hired, an Aussie guy. He's really into spiritual stuff. Really helped me actually stop identifying with my own thoughts, like the actual like you are not your thoughts stuff. Like actually experience what I've been kind of trying to experience. And then like a meditation teacher, for example, that I went on a retreat with, amazing, incredible Aussie as well, guy from Australia, just really good at applying those core teachings from the Buddha, like the original teachings, like to the Western mindset and like just all of the insanity. And like, I mean, that's just an incredible person that helped me, get so deep in the practice that I really actually saw and experienced like, what they call like that sort of enlightenment or samadhi or just state of just like, you see that there's nobody home when you get there, right? There really isn't anybody home. This is a completely conditioned experience, right? So getting that deep is like, holy crap, like this is crazy, right? But I mean, that's just an intense thing. I hope everybody can experience at some point. And then it just moved on to like role models that I found in books, or just like people like Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn or like Wes Watson recently, very intense guy, coach. He's really killed it after a huge stint in prison. Just, even though he's got a very like strong vocabulary that probably offends most people. I mean, I love his style of speaking the truth and it resonates because he's like speaking what I've found to be true. But he's also just like calling people out straight to their face, which is, I think, is a lot of people what people need, right? It's just you need to be told the truth to your face, called on your shit, and like so you can actually like because otherwise we're always like accommodating to each other's shortcomings without realizing that that's actually enabling and doing nobody any good. So I'm trying to just combine, that endless like love and compassion I have for, everybody because of the suffering that I experienced and now don't have. And I just see it in everybody else. I don't want them to have that. But at the same time, I don't want to just be like, oh, you're okay. Like, it's okay. Like, no, like, it's not okay. Like, you need to make some changes. Like, this is all you. Stop blaming. Stop putting, everything on the external circumstances and situations. So, I guess, I mean, many amazing books, right? Like, even just what was it, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So the role models, I think, they just come from all of those amazing teachers that have come before us that I've continued to come across and are just very inspiring in the way they're able to just share such valuable information. So, yeah, I mean, my most recent one, like I said, was Wes Watson, just because of the
You know,
similarities.
yeah, for sure. I remember, being a kid from the Midwest, I remember going to Southern California in my early 20s, and I opened up one of the drawers at the hotel, and it had the Book of Buddha in it. And I remember reading it, and I'd kind of delved a little bit in the Eastern theology, the art of war, and those kinds of things. But I really delved into it, and there's a tranquility and a simplicity, and there's something that's very different from other deities and other ways of thought that really kind of bring you down to that human elemental level, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get what you're saying about that. So I'm curious, as somebody that has been in the pharmacy industry as long as you have, we all know, I think most of us that have a heartbeat know that pharmaceuticals run a lot of things, and there's a lot that's going on. There's a level of it that's rampant and unregulated. What's your idea and feeling on not only that notion, but the future as we medicinally try to help each other out.
Yeah, I mean that the whole thing is just really crazy. It's like, I mean, unfortunately, we've all been essentially indoctrinated into a religious type of thing without realizing it. Like, this is the way, this is medicine, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, in acute or emergency situations, there's some very useful, you know, things for the pharmaceutical approach, that paradigm.
Yeah.
Most people just like don't even like can't even imagine though that are still just fully in that and haven't started like asking questions. Like, can't even imagine that like they've been misled or in any way. Like, so it's I think that's the hardest thing when it comes to each person's sort of awakening and healing or transformational journey is just realizing that like you've been given a lot of things that you accepted and you didn't realize, like unconsciously, these paradigms we've all been given, right? Whether it's like just the general idea that we're not good enough or we're these weak beings that need all of these things, that we're flawed in all of these ways. So the pharmaceutical thing is just so tough, and that's I mean, we're in that world. We're in pharma's world. Like, they control the information in every way. Like, they've been working on doing that for over 100 years. Like, people don't understand how highly controlled the information is, how like I'm like even just somebody like me that's just like kind of starting out, kind of new, doesn't really have much of a following. Like, it's just insane how strong I can see just saying certain things like healing, or there's nothing wrong with you, how that actually contributes to suppression of things I say. They don't like powerful messages being on these platforms, right? And it's crazy. But like I said, there's a place for it. But obviously, my point is that, well, maybe not obviously, but like in anything long term, anything chronic, anything, the whole paradigm is to just suppress symptoms and never look for what's wrong. What are the conditions in place causing you to be unwell, right? It's convince you that you have this thing, this is wrong with you, right? Which I'm trying to tell you there's nothing wrong with you. There are just conditions in place that are causing you to be unwell, right? But that's that paradigm, right? And of course, the approach is just to suppress symptoms. Never look for what's wrong or how to fix it, because that obviously wouldn't create any customers or keep them or create any profit. Which, I mean, from a business standpoint, I mean, they're doing it right. I mean, like, that's how you would want to do it if you wanted to become as profitable as possible, right? And it's just really sad that what humans are capable of, to do endless harm, and then just do endless things to actually create that harm to create later benefit. Or it's just crazy. It's really
Yeah.
hard to wrap your head around if you're not somebody that's already figured that out, which I think the whole last few years have caused a lot of people that even in the beginning weren't questioning anything still to start. So I mean, that's the shift we needed, right? Because now we have to go continually down this journey of sort of like awakening, right? Like, people have to wake up and stop just delegating their like lives and health like to a medical system that is obviously for profit and not interested in them actually being well, what it's been built on. Don't get me wrong, you can find good people in it, but you got to be careful, right? Because they've been trained by education that's funded by pharma. So
Yeah.
people got to realize that, and it's a tough place we're in. Like, but it's like also like the craziest time to me, like that you could ever be living in, right? Like, because this is like this is not like a decade or something. This is a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
And like we have to like start stepping away from that and creating, whatever it is that's needed, right? But it
Yeah.
starts with each one of us, I think.
It's wild that we're only one of the two countries that actually have ads that are run for that. Isn't that weird? Like, we got rid of, like, it's hard to believe that they used to have cigarette ads that were on TV and that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
now it's like it's weird. It's weird how we regulate and unregulate and how powerful things get.
Yeah, that's another. This is a simple thing people need to realize. Yeah, they don't allow that advertising in most countries. And if you think about it, like being exposed to something, it's such an important aspect. Like understanding that it doesn't matter how crazy something is or how untrue it is. If you continually are exposed to it, you will like on an unconscious level start believing that's true, right? So being endlessly exposed to marketing and advertising for something like pharmaceuticals is like has a major effect on, like I said, the paradigm that we've been, put in or given without realizing it, right? It's really
Yeah.
sad because it's like, yeah, they shouldn't be a marketing and advertising thing with something like that.
Yeah. It's like hospitals, things like that that are just givens. Like, you know, if you need to go to a hospital, you're going to go to a hospital. It's not going to be like, well, I saw an ad for the one that's about 30 miles away from the one that's closest to me. Let's do that one. They got a great burger in there, or they got different things. It's just weird what we market and what we advertise that are seen as basic services in other parts of the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean, it's just too bad. I mean, it's and the main thing I think is what's needed is you got to see the bigger picture. You got to like step back and be like, no, you've been constantly seeing these things, which is without realizing it, giving you the message that maybe there's this thing wrong with you, or there's this thing, or there's all these possible things that are wrong with you, and that you need these products to be well or to
Yeah.
survive, right? And it's like that's the underlying like paradigm that people need to see the bigger picture of, not just, oh, maybe I have this thing or maybe I have that thing, or seeing it as some simple harmless thing, getting lost in the content. We have to step back and see like, wait, we've been exposed to this idea through endless different ways, approaches. Like that's the thing that you need to address and be like, wait a minute, is that true? Do I want to believe that? Do I
Yeah.
want to live and operate from that place?
Yeah. Yeah. So as someone that's overcome as much as you have, you've been in high-powered positions and now you're coaching and helping people. What's been kind of something that's pushed you through that helps you maintain and not fall into bad habits?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question because it's like part of I think the real journey is like you have to start building true strength, like which starts physically, right? And it turns and that's everything's connected, right? You have to build true strength of both physical, mental, mind, body, soul, like all of it, like everything, the whole picture, the holistic approach, right? You have to address every aspect of yourself, address and uncover all of the unconscious paradigms, right? Like I mean, recently my life has been like a freaking movie. Like if you were watching a movie about my life the last month, you'd be like, holy shit, what's gonna happen next? This is crazy. What's going on with this guy? Like I'm compounding at this pharmacy, amazing, cute little place has been around for a few decades. Awesome little gift shop. You walk in, you never believe it's a pharmacy, right? But the owners were like 70, they were on their way out. So I was trying to turn this place around because they kind of let it go the last few years because FDA issues and all this stuff. New owners come in and it's just like this guy just can't see like what he has and all of the things that are so wrong that I can just fix immediately if he'll just back me and let me. And he just won't do it. He's one of those like people that's just like taking his time, not changing anything. After 5 months, I was just like, all right, I gotta go somewhere else. And then like it was so weird. This lady calls me and we get on the phone. It's like late at night. She owns a pharmacy. She's more of a businesswoman. She started the pharmacy, a hospice pharmacy, because her own granddad, like 5 years before that, had like couldn't get medications in time and ended up dying like early and very not well. Like was kind of ugly. And she was so pissed off, but she was just like, all right, I'm starting a fucking pharmacy and we're gonna fix this. And she just created this amazing operation. So she calls me and like just resonates so strongly with me. Well, she's like, how being if you're interested in being healthy and all this stuff, how does that work with being a pharmacist? And I'm just like, what? I'm like, who is this? I'm like, this is crazy. We're cussing, we're talking about like the importance of like systems, processes, and I'm like, I've never talked to anybody in healthcare that's even close to like speaking or thinking like you are. I'm like, well, within 3 minutes, I know I got to go work for this lady, right? So, we of course try to move forward very quickly. And the next week after I'd already like told the current place, I was like, man, you got to get some new people in. I'll train them if you can get me here soon enough. But I got to go, man. I can't give you more than 2 weeks. She wants me to start right away. She essentially wants me to take it over so she can step out now and go on to the next thing. And of course, the DEA comes in naturally. I mean, not naturally. I'm kind of being sarcastic, and essentially coerces or forces her to surrender her license for simple record keeping stuff. Turns out she's the 14th independent pharmacy in Houston alone that they've done this to recently. So they're looking for a reason that like things that hospice pharmacies have been doing for 30, 40 years as a reason to now say, no, that's not what the law says. So like, and then, and so it's like, I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, this is interesting because now like it's going to take her a few months to get up and running again. And she will. She's already well on her way there. But in the meantime, it's like, oh man, I just lost my security backfall to pay my bills. I got family. I'm still at the beginning. So like it's not financially, it's like, I'm still kind of at the beginning of rock bottom. I mean, I had to start over, right? I had to go that route. So I mean, and it just keeps getting more interesting from then. So it's like, oh man, what else happens? You know, me and my wife had another falling out, even though we agreed to get the divorce. You know, a crazy thing happened there. Maybe I won't share the details, but you know, and then it goes on to what's next here. I forget. There's so many things. I mean, now it's like what happened with
Well,
that?
well, here,
Go ahead, go ahead, go
let
ahead.
me ask you this. Let's say you get the right script that's peppered up, that has the action sequences and all these things about your life. Who's the actor that's going to play you?
The actor? You
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
myself?
yeah. Who's going to play you in the movie? Because you just said it's a movie. So who's the guy that's going to play you? I have an idea, but who do you think it would be?
Oh, you mean like literally like some sort of movie star
Yeah,
example?
like if you were, if your life, as you just said, was like a movie and you had a script, who's going to play you? Who's the guy?
I mean, I guess somebody like, you know, Jason Statham or something.
Okay, I would think a young Andrew McCarthy.
Okay.
So that's just me taking a stab here. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. There's so many things that are going on. You're still navigating through it. So I guess more accurately, what keeps you going? What is the fuel for you? What makes you continue every day and keep you
Oh,
motivated? Because you're not just helping yourself, you're helping others.
yeah, I mean, it's like it's one of those things. I think what I was getting at is like the old me is like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me, right? Like I don't want to operate from that place anymore. So like a
Right.
lot of the work is like getting to a point where like you're not seeing your situations and your problems, your issues, whatever challenges you're facing as this, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, poor me, fucking weak ass mindset bullshit. You need to come around and be like, no, life is happening for you. It's literally showing you what you need to learn and heal and whatever, because that's what you need to help other people with. But you have to heal it within yourself first, right? And that's what I see. Like, your suffering is a gift. You can't see it while you're in it, but you will if you heal it and transform it, whatever. If you evolve, rise above that shit, like that's your gift. Everything, all your challenges are your gifts, and that's like what you need to move from. So it's like any challenge that comes my way, I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, this is so interesting. I'm like, and the bigger the challenges and the more of them, I'm like, this is great. Like, bring it on, because it's like you got to start learning and knowing that that's where you're going to grow the most. The bigger the challenge, the more of them, the more growth you're going to get from that. Right? We all have like such high potential, but if you don't face those things that way and learn the lessons, and you instead go the easy route and then, you know, numb yourself or whatever it is, you're never going to get there, right? So it's like it's coming from that place, like I just said, like you got to do that. And like for me, you know, after suffering like such a crazy amount and more over all these years, and then realizing like, holy shit, like that was all unnecessary. Like I don't, like I really don't actually have to suffer like that. There's not actually anything wrong with me. Like that's really hard to figure out and see and actually like truly get out of, you know, and it's like, I mean, at that point, you know, like you find your purpose on that journey. It becomes very clear that that is your purpose is to do what exactly what I'm talking about is to see that your challenges and what you're faced with is your gift and that that's what you now need to help others with, or even if it's not that exact thing, realizing that, you know, we are our own purposes and that it's our own state of being, our own level of consciousness, where we're at. That's what we're actually sharing with everybody we interact with, whatever the medium is, whether it's, you know, this interview or as a pharmacist or as a real estate agent, it doesn't matter. Like that's what you're actually giving people. It's not the service, right? Like you don't have to be a coach to give people your own like level of consciousness, state of being, experience, right? Because that is like that's what you're actually giving them. It doesn't even need to be said in words, right? And that's just because everybody you come across is gonna feel that. And they're like, what's how is this guy is like that's a powerful motherfucker. How is he doing that? Like he's not operating from fear or something. Like maybe they're not thinking that exactly, but they know and they're like, that makes them curious. That plants seeds. That makes them wonder if something else is possible. Maybe they can be like that. Right. But if you just see people that are doing the same things, like, you know, like I said, accommodating people's shortcomings, you know, not speaking their truth, you know, just living in like the way of sort of submitting to all sorts of things, right? It's just like you know, right? You get
Yeah,
what I'm saying,
I
right?
dig it. Yep, I do. Yeah. So, we've caught up for part two here, but let's say we catch up 5 years from now. You have a plan. You're knee deep. You're getting into it. What are you hoping happens in your life? What would you like to tell me first and foremost 5 years from now has happened?
Probably just that, like, man, I was still at the beginning back then, and I just like all of those old patterns of like doubt and stuff wanted to, made me like want to like pursue an easier route or give up or make me think it's not possible. But I just kept doing the work. I never gave up, and I now making impacts in just hundreds of thousands of people's lives all over the world because I just wouldn't give up no matter what, no matter how many challenges I faced, no matter how hard it was to actually reach people. Like I just didn't stop. I just kept speaking my truth. I kept living in like, alignment with my conscience, with like what resonates with me, with truth in general. And I just never stopped. Like no matter how hard it was, no matter how bad I felt, I just kept doing what was needed. And now, now here I am, like really making that impact I always wanted to make in just countless people's lives every day. And that's what it's all about.
If you can meet anybody alive right now on the planet, spend some time with them, someone that would be mutually beneficial for you, who would that be?
Hmm. Interesting question. Man, I guess it would have to be Wes Watson right now, just because I mean, like that's really the missing piece to my puzzle is that sort of his messages he's sharing, which is like it's a really hardcore, like straight at your face message, but it's also like you need to be called out on your shit. So it's like I wouldn't mind getting inside his head a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I can't think of anybody else.
No, that's good. So let me ask you this. If you could witness any event in human history firsthand, what would you love to have seen?
Uh, I mean, I mean, I can't think the current event where we're at, like this shift starting to happen. I can't imagine wanting to see anything more in the past than what's happening now. I feel like this is it, man. Like there's like a freaking spiritual, psychological war going on for our conscience, and like we're in it, and it's like full on happening, especially the last few years. Like I can't imagine wanting to see something else more than this.
That's a great answer. Yeah, because I feel like, we are on the cusp of so many things, whatever it might be, whether it's personal, spiritual, political, anything that's going on. That's a great answer. Man, this has been great, Colton. I think we kind of opened the door a little bit more. I think we exposed a little bit more light on the plant for it to grow. So I think we're we're in good shape. We just need to keep watering this thing. So
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
but yeah, I dig your story, man. I really appreciate you opening up and putting it out there. It's very real and raw. And I think there's a lot of people that have found ways through their personal navigation because of this pandemic. But I think there's definitely a rawness that needs to still be put out there for us to be like, you know what? There's things that we can get rid of that are bad, and there's things that we can grab onto. Like I remember the other night, I was watching um a show with my stepdaughter called Hot Ones, and David Blaine was on eating hot wings, and he had no reaction. He even had some trick where a Carolina Reaper was brought out and he ate it. And the host is like used to hot stuff. He was getting ready to die. He was just collapsing. Blaine had no reaction. That guy, his level of being mind over matter and doing whatever he wants is uncanny. It's wild, man.
Yeah,
And it's that thing. It's like, all right, yeah, he was buried underground and there's all these things, but he's really actually mastered this level of taking this reality and doing whatever he wants to it.
yeah, yeah. Anybody like that's a great example, right?
Yeah.
You can take what you can from all of the people. Don't like, see one bad thing about them and then just throw out everything else. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say. Like, take what resonates with you from each person you come across, right? And then just keep expanding on that.
But that's the American problem right now is that with the Me Too movement and everything, it's like we just take everything and we love the tragedy and the Phoenix and that whole narrative,
Yeah.
you
That's the
know.
same thing with that, right? Stop getting lost in the content and see the bigger picture of the vision, why that helps us be controlled, fighting amongst one another. Like, you got to heal all that shit within ourselves. Like, you got to love and accept each other like unconditionally. That's the practice of unconditional love. You gotta get to acceptance, gotta get to tolerance of being able to have, an adult debate and conversation, right?
Hmm.
Rather
Yeah.
than all of this triggered bullshit where it's like, oh no, no, no. It's just that's what shuts it down, right? Because it's such a strong thing. So we gotta see the bigger picture. We gotta stop getting lost in the content.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that whole political thing. Things are brought up deliberately as hot buttons to divert us from the real thing that's happening. But at the end of the day, the truth is always right in front of us.
Yeah,
It just is.
yeah.
And
You just
whether
gotta
you
see
want to
it.
acknowledge it or not, it's right like inches from your face every day.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, man. It's like the truth is out there. Like you can find it, but you have to ask the right questions. You have to ask questions in general. For me and most people, we're asking really bad questions in our head. And if you start asking better questions, they will keep getting better and you will keep getting better answers. Like you got to ask good questions or you're not going to get good answers.
So for all things Colton, where do they go? I want to recapitulate. We did this before, but let's make sure.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. Just look me up, truth_prescribe, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me, Colton Hall, on Facebook. On YouTube as well. And then truthprescribed.com. Sign up for the email list. Stay connected. We're going to start launching and hitting that one. Sharing even more valuable stuff, sometime later this year. Be good. Just get connected on there somewhere, everywhere.
Yeah, just get connected. Colton, this has been great, man. Thank you so much for opening up again, and best of luck with everything.
Sure, man. Anytime, Joe. Good talking
Thank
to
you.
you. Take care.
Nice talking to you. Take care. See you
All
later.
right.